Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is an amazing game, and I believe it should serve as the blueprint for a Final Fantasy X remake. What do I mean? Let's talk about it. Hello there everybody and welcome to The Comfy Spot. My name is Tyler and today we are going to be talking about why I believe Final Fantasy VII Rebirth should serve as the blueprints and as the example for a Final Fantasy X remake. Now real quick up front, I want to be very clear, there are no Final Fantasy VII Rebirth story spoilers in this video at all. I'm not going to really be talking about the story of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth much in this video, and if I do, I'm not getting in depth or talking about any specific story details, so don't worry if you have not finished the game, you are safe to watch this video. Don't worry, don't fear. Now, Final Fantasy X. That is the very first Final Fantasy game that I actually ever played. It was introduced to me by my girlfriend, and it's her favorite game of all time, her favorite Final Fantasy game ever, and it's a game that's really near and dear to her heart, and it's a game that when I first played it, I loved it as well. I found myself like bawling at the end of the game. Well, maybe not bawling, but I definitely got emotional and teared up at the end because it's a sad game, but I really loved that game. And in the years since I played it back in 2014, I've always wondered, like, man, it'd be so cool to be able to explore Spirit and experience the story with modern day visuals, modern day, gameplay, just really dig into it in a brand new way. And while I've always, wondered and thought about that, I've always also at the same time felt like a remake of Final Fantasy X wasn't really necessary. Like, it's a game that holds up very well, although it clearly shows its age and its visuals. Just about everything about it still holds up very well. Even those visuals that have age, they show their 20+ year age. It still holds up pretty well. But after playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I am fully on board the train of, man, I really want a modern day remake of Final Fantasy X. And I know there have been rumors that a Final Fantasy X remake is in the works in some way, shape, or form, and it's years away. I take it with a grain of salt. I'm not putting much stock in it right now until, we actually hear more details about it rumor-wise, or until Square Enix actually announces the thing. But playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, again, it's made me really think to myself and just really feel like, oh my gosh, I want this Final Fantasy X remake. And it all starts really from just the way in which Final Fantasy VII Rebirth just brings the world of Final Fantasy VII to life in such an amazing way. Like, just the way that the world is, the grasslands outside Calm, the areas surrounding Junon, the forests of Gongaga, like all these places, they're just so beautiful and so dense and detailed, and I loved exploring them. And the whole time I'm exploring these places, the only thing I could think about is in the back of my mind is just like, oh man, what if Final Fantasy X was like this? Like, while I'm exploring the grasslands, all I could think of is, man, this is basically what it would be like exploring the Mi'ihen High Road in a modern day Final Fantasy X remake, or exploring the Calm Lands as well, just like with all this detail and just seeing just the fields brought to life in just a much more beautiful way. It would be amazing. Going through the jungle in Gongaga, all I could think about was like, oh my gosh, this is what it would be like going through the jungle in Kilika Island, where you're going to the temple there to get Ifrit, the Aeon Ifrit. Like, all I could think about was, man, it would be so amazing, just like exploring Kilika. And this is what it would be like. I could not help but think that. And then going to the Gold Saucer as well in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, when you go there and you're just exploring that, and all I could think about again was like, man, I imagine this is what it would be like if we're in Luca right now, with just how busy and bubbly it is, how just lively the environment is. This is what it would be like to explore Luca in modern day Final Fantasy X remake. Just seeing the actual Blitzball Arena form and just seeing it just like look so freaking amazing. It would just be so cool, so freaking cool. And even not just the Blitzball Arena, but even like the town of Luca itself. Like, it would just be so amazing. And that was all I could think about while I was playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Not the only thing I think about. But it was constantly in the back of my mind, just like, man, like this area reminds me of this area from 10. This area reminds me of this area. And just, man, I would love to see them brought to life. And Final Fantasy X, it honestly, it does deserve it. Final Fantasy X has some of the most beautiful environments of any of the games of the series that I've played personally. Besaid Island is gorgeous. Kilika, lovely. Macalania Woods and Macalania itself, stunning. Like, there are just so many areas. Oh my gosh, the Moonflow as well. I can't believe I almost forgot that. The Moonflow is just, it's amazing. Like, there are so many areas of Final Fantasy X that are just like a sight to behold, that would just be utterly drop dead gorgeous if they were done in a modern day remake with, you know, on the level of a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, 7 Remake style remake. Just to that level, with that much budget and quality behind it, it would be a joy to behold, just a sight to behold. Now, we're going a bit past the world of Spirit and everything and how that would be just like brought to life and translated in a modern day remake. The combat is another thing where I like, man, like 10's combat, it's perfect as it is. It is a amazing, fantastic turn-based system. And I know when it comes to a remake, you know, it's a bit touch and go in terms of, man, do they touch that? Do they not? Do they keep it turn-based? Do they go more action-oriented? And I do feel like if in modern day times, I feel like Square Enix would be more inclined to go with a more action-oriented combat system. And I personally believe that, you know, hey, if you want to adopt the 7 Remake, 7 Rebirth system, that'd be totally fine with me. I'd be totally fine with that. It is honestly, I believe, possibly like the best implementation of blending real-time action with turn-based combat. It works so well, and Rebirth takes it to another level over Remake with the introduction of the synergy moves that you have, and just, you know, how you could switch your party on the not on the fly during combat, but on the fly while you're out and about, and just how that affects things and changes things over how it was in Remake. And just being able to have that implemented for Final Fantasy X Remake, I would have a blast with that. I know I would. Being able to do synergy moves, like I can only imagine a synergy move between Tidus and Waka involving like the Blitzball, maybe like a Jet Shot type move that they do, Jet Shot Venom Shot combo move that they do against the enemy, or something that Yuna and Lulu might do, you know, maybe like double magic or whatever. I don't know. There's so many different combinations that could come to mind, and just the thought of that is so exciting to me. Although I will say, I don't know if they would do that, use that system, since, you know, 10 never had an ATB system. 7 originally did, so it made sense. Use the ATB system for it. 10 didn't, so I don't know if they would do that. You know, if they would use the same 7 Rebirth system, they'd probably do something different. If they were going to change it from being turn-based, maybe they would go all in on it being just full-on real-time actions, similar to maybe Final Fantasy 15, which I also loved, and it's long been like one of my favorites in the franchise. Hate on me all you want to. So yeah, I don't know what they would do with the combat, but again, the idea of the combat just being modernized, being brought to this another level with real-time action excites me, because I personally do prefer real-time action combat over turn-based, though I have no problem with turn-based combat at all. But just the thought, again, just playing 7 Rebirth, the whole time all I could think was, man, imagine this combat in Final Fantasy X with those characters in that world, and just the idea of it gets me so excited, and man, I want that so badly. Now, I want to touch on the story side of things real quick, and I will say I do not want the story of Final Fantasy X to be touched at all if they do a remake, a modern day remake. With the 7 Remake trilogy, you know, they're doing alternate timeline stuff and alternate universe stuff, and sure, go ahead. I'm down with the get down for it there. But honestly, we don't need that with 10. Please don't do that with 10. 10 does not need that. 10's story is perfect as it is. Don't mess with it. Don't fix what ain't broke. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But in regards to the story, I would love to see them do what they've done with 7 Remakes trilogy, especially 7 Rebirth, and really dig into what makes the characters special. Dig into those characters, let's dig into them more. Let's bring some more depth to them. Let's find out, let's bring out some other elements of them that may not have really been able to be shown or shine much in the original. So I know the one thing for me always when it comes to 10 is Lulu and her story, and how we don't get too much of her backstory in the game. Like we kind of find out that, you know, she's been on pilgrimages before with Waka. She's been on 2 pilgrimages before specifically, and you know, only one of them even like really gets mentioned during the main story. But the more I feel impactful one, her pilgrimage with Lady Ginham, is relegated to a missable side objective that like is somewhat along the main path, but you could easily miss it, and like it's where you end up getting the Yojimbo summon. But like it's a crucial piece of her character, and I feel like, you know, just not even having it as part of the main story, it does a disservice to her character. You're not even like drip feeding any bit of that story, that backstory, throughout the game. I mean, there's a bit of it, I believe, in the Far Plane, but even then, that's still a missable kind of thing. I would love if that was more like sprinkled in as part of the main story to really flesh out her character. Let's dig more into Chapu and Waka and Lulu. Let's dig more into that, and I guess also like how Lulu and Chapu's relationship was just like between the 2 of them, and not how Waka was involved in it as well. That'd be cool to learn more about. Like there's a lot that we could really dig into and just bring out more of the characters, really just have fun with the characters, and that would be just so cool. I would really love that, especially if they implemented, you know, how 7 Rebirth has the bond system with the party in this game, and how, you know, you can get closer with the characters doing synergy moves or doing side quests with that are related to each different character. Implementing something like that for a 10 remake would be really neat. I'd be down for it, and I think it would really just allow the story of the characters to thrive more and be even more amazing than they already are. So, you know, there's just a couple things that I could think about when I was playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, about how I would want this to be the example for a Final Fantasy X remake. The farther I got in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the more I played, the more I kept thinking, man, if we had a 10 remake like this, if only we had a 10 game that was like this, like I would love that so much, and I think it deserves it. 10 is honestly one of the best games in the series. It is one of the most beloved. If any game other than 7 is going to get a remake, we know 9 remake is basically in the works. It's all but confirmed thanks to that Nvidia leak. You know, if any other game aside from those 2 is going to get a remake, it would be and should be 6 or 10, and I feel like 10 would be the next most likely because of just how beloved it is, how near and dear to people's hearts it is. And yeah, man, like 7 Rebirth, it should serve as the blueprint for a Final Fantasy X remake. So what do you all think? Do you all agree with me? Do you all share the same thoughts with me on everything I said, some of the things I said? Let me know down in the comment section below what you would like to see from a Final Fantasy X remake if one was to be made. Before I finish this video out, also just as a heads up, I am working on my Final Fantasy VII Rebirth review. It is progressing pretty nicely. It will be out very soon, so keep an eye out for that. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel and have your notifications on. That way you will know as soon as that video goes up, and many others, so you can check those out as well, including my Revisiting Kingdom Hearts series that is starting up very, very soon, starting up this week. The first episode coming out this Saturday. So check that out. Make sure you're subbed and notified. That way you can check that video out. Leave a like on this video, and again, let me know your thoughts on the Final Fantasy X remake down below. My name is Tyler. This has been The Comfy Spot. I'll talk with you all later. Have a good one.